My name is Dr. Timothy Sharp. I'm Chief Happiness Officer of the Happiness Institute and an adjunct professor here at the UTS Business School. My primary areas of research and scholarly interest are applications of positive psychology, particularly in the workplace, but also in life more generally, in relationships, in schools, and in a whole range of other settings as well. Currently, some of my research is focused on happiness in the workplace, or what's more technically referred to as positive organisational scholarship. Some of the specific issues we're looking at are leadership and resilience. Resilience is a particular topic of interest for various reasons at the moment, but also these things touch on team building, building hope and optimism within organisations, and particularly utilising strengths, helping people identify what they're really good at and how they can use more of that in their workplace and in their lives more generally. My main area of research interest is really around application of positive psychology principles within organisations and institutions. So technically that's sometimes referred to as positive organisational scholarship, and that involves things like leadership, building resilience, hope and optimism within the workplace, as well as helping individuals and teams more fully identify and utilise their strengths, what they're really good at and how they can use that more often. Well, the thing that I'm probably most excited about at the moment within the positive organisational scholarship area that I'm working in is what I've come to call the primacy of positivity. Now what that means is that if we can create positivity first, I believe we can actually get much better results. A lot of people don't do that. In many areas of life we tend to see happiness or positivity as something that will come after we've achieved something. So when we've achieved our goals, when we're richer, we've got a better job, we've got a bigger house, when we're better looking, then we think everything will be fine and we'll be happy. But what can happen then is that we can fall into the trap of what I've come to call the tyranny of when. I'll be happy when. And this applies in all areas of life. It's something that many organisations do. They reward their people after they've achieved targets, after they've hit their goals. Now, that's not completely inappropriate, but what can happen is that it can backfire sometimes. Because what can happen is that people then focus too much on the future, too much on what they need to do, and not enough on the here and now, which is when they really need to act. And sometimes as a result of that, that can lead to disappointment and frustration, which doesn't lead to people doing their best and being their best. In contrast, the primacy of positivity is about boosting people's positivity, boosting their happiness and well-being in the first instance, which we know from the research, and particularly an American academic, Barbara Fredrickson's broaden and build theory of positive emotions. What we know from that is if we can create positivity first, people are then more motivated, they're then more energised, and they're more likely to engage in helpful and constructive behaviours, and more likely to achieve their goals, and more likely to achieve success, whatever that means for them. Well, it could be seen as being similar to motivational speakers or some of the motivational work, and in some ways it is, but it's different in a couple of ways. One, because this is based on scientific theories, this is based on research, valid and reliable, empirically supported research, which we know works. So it's not just about geeing people up. That's not an entirely bad thing, but it's not just about geeing people up, it's about getting people excited, but in a meaningful way. So this will only work if we then help people set meaningful and purposeful goals. This will only work if we then help people identify and utilise their strengths, what they're really good at, and help them utilise that more often. This will only work if people think beyond themselves. It's not just about me as an individual, it's about me contributing in an appropriate and effective way to the organisational goals, again, if those goals are reasonable and meaningful. So it is about motivating people, but in a way that goes much beyond rah-rah, and in a way that builds in scientific principles so people can maintain effective and appropriate behaviours in the longer term. Well, to get down to some practicalities and give you some examples maybe of how we apply this in an organisational context, there's a couple of things we do. Firstly, we try to help people have a bit more fun at work. Now that might sound silly, it might sound unimportant, but it's not unimportant, and it's actually far more significant than most people realise. Fun and play at work is significantly underestimated, but again, we know that if people do it in the right way, and it is important to emphasise, I'm talking about appropriate fun and appropriate play, if people do it in the right way, then they're more engaged. You know, who's more likely to sell their widgets? Who's more likely to sell their products or services? Who's more likely to collaborate with clients or colleagues or work well? Someone who's miserable and pessimistic, someone who doesn't like their job, or someone who's happy and enjoys coming into work. every day. So if we can create that positivity, people can enjoy what they do, then again, that's motivating and inspiring, and it gets people doing what they need to do. But that's not all. It's not just about fun and play. It's also about meaning and purpose. There's got to be something about their work that they see as valuable. And we can all find that. Some people need a bit more help than others, but if we can help them, and this is what we do, if we go into organisations and help people find some meaning in what they do, see beyond the day-to-day tasks, see the final results of what their labours, then that in itself is motivating as well, and in fact motivating in a way that goes far beyond just immediate positive emotions. We also help people work better together. None of us can do everything on our own. None of us has all the answers. So helping people identify not just their own strengths, but strengths in other people, so they can more fully collaborate with and utilise the people and the resources around them, is very, very powerful. Because what we get when we get teams really, really working together well is something that, where 1 + 1 equals much more than 2. If we can get a team of a group of people who fully understand and fully utilise each other's strengths, what everyone is really, really good at, then that's when you get a fantastic result, because people are contributing far beyond what they could purely on their own or as a group of individuals. This is what you see in the greatest sporting teams, for example, a group of people who can achieve much more than any group of individuals. So it's about building on strengths and creating a language around positive strengths. It's about collaboration, helping people understand that it's not just about individuals, and helping people find meaning and purpose in a fun way. We know that people are more likely to do things if they're having fun. It really is that simple, but it's not necessarily that easy to do in practice, so sometimes people need a bit of help to apply it. So I'm often asked by people, not surprisingly, how can I be happier? And it's not an easy question to answer. If I had my way, I'd probably need an hour or a couple of hours to explain it. But quite simply, there are, at the Happiness Institute, we have 6 quick tips that people can use to boost happiness in their lives. First of all, clarifying your purpose and direction in life. It's important to have meaningful goals. That's the first. If we don't know where we're going, if we don't know what happiness and a good life looks like, then it's very hard to know what to do. Secondly, it's hard to do what you need to do if you're sick and tired all the time. So we need to look after our health. We need to exercise, eat a reasonable diet, and get good sleep and rest. I know that sounds pretty boring, but it's very important. That's where we get the energy that we need to do what we need to do to be happy and successful. So clarify your life purpose and direction, live a healthy life, boost your optimism and hope. If there's one thing that differentiates happy and successful people from others, it's that they think about the world differently. It's not that they don't face problems, they do, but they face those problems in a more optimistic way. And I'm not just talking about positive thinking, I'm talking about looking for positives, but also facing up to the cold, hard realities in a constructive way. So it's about looking for solutions, not just getting bogged down in problems. It's also important to recognise that real happiness, real authentic happiness, is not just about me, me, me. It's about all the other people in my life. So building positive relationships is vitally important. Happiness isn't just about feeling good, it's about doing good. The happiest people in the world have both more and better quality relationships. The happiest people in the world also are better at identifying and utilising their strengths. So they don't just ask what's wrong with me and how can I fix it, they also ask what's right with me and how can I utilise that more in every aspect of my life. And this is a question that too many of us don't even ask, but it's a very important question, because if we can utilise, if we can build on our strengths, those things that we're naturally really good at, then the benefits are enormous. And then finally, the 6th tip is probably about enjoying the moment. It's important to have fun. There's really only one moment in our lives in which we can ever really be happy, and that's the here and now. So the happiest people tend to be better at living in the moment and enjoying the moment. And that partly involves practicing appreciation and gratitude, focusing more on what we have and less on what we don't have.